From November 14th to 21st, we're inviting you to join us for a powerful trip to Ghana. This isn't just a vacation. This is a chance to walk through the same places where many of our people were captured, held, and shipped off into slavery. So don't wait. Secure your spot today. We're making history by walking through it. Will you be with us?
Peace, family. My name is Vicki Dillard for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Family, you all know that this girl who's originally from Mississippi in the United States of America, born and raised there, but I now live in the Wild Wild West. I love to cover Eritrea and sometimes Somalia. I've done some coverage on Ethiopia in times past. And how many of you all know that before there was the Sahel nations and the likes of Mali and Niger and Burkina Faso and their leadership? How many of you all know that there was our dear brother President Isaias Afwerki? Yes, revolutionary indeed, and been on the front line for many decades, along with he and his people. And I have such respect for such resilience and the energy and strength of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. Yes. But that being said, I wanted to remind you all of something. I was looking at some news recently about Somalia, right? And in the news, as of the day of this recording, just a couple of days ago, this headline from Al Jazeera says at least 13 reported killed in suicide bomb blast in Somalia's Mogadishu, right? It says that the attacker on Sunday targeted a queue of young recruits lining up outside of the Damayo base. I'm going to say deleting at least 13, the Associated News agency quoted witnesses as saying. They said that there was a loud explosion and immediately people began running in all directions. Bodies were everywhere, it says. It talks about how different teenagers were lining up, and then abruptly a deafening blast occurred and the area was covered by dense smoke. Toward the end of this article, it says how Al-Shabaab has been fighting the Somali government for nearly 2 decades and frequently targets government officials and military personnel. Now, family, listen, I'm not going to pretend to get into the details of all this as expert, but I do know this much. I have done back-to-back coverage for the past few years here about how it has been the West. There's been credible evidence and testimony and information that has come forward that proves in no limit of time, many of us believe. We believe the evidence that proves and the testimonies of the experts that have told us that Al-Shabaab is actually a creation, or at the very least, I should say, economically and militarily sponsored by enemies of that region, especially folks from the West. Let me hit the gavel on that. Let's be clear. Now, that just happened just a few days ago, but we know there's been nonstop conflict. Now, I have discussed and done coverage in the past from previous House of Representatives Foreign Affairs hearings where they have plotted against Eritrea, Somalia, in the Ethiopian area. Yes, how many of you all remember that coverage? All you need to do is pull in the search engine right here from this network and you'll find that coverage, some of it at least. Well, I want you to watch this brief clip from some years ago with the great President Afwerki humiliating, in my opinion, this ridiculous European Al Jazeera journalist. Watch this.
Now, we're talking about a misguided policy of the United States that wants to create crisis here, political problems here and there, and micromanage those problems.
All those allegations leveled against Eritrea about being one of the main backers behind destabilizing this region, destabilizing the Horn of Africa. Is that not true?
Who is destabilizing the Horn of Africa? Who has been supporting warlords in Somalia for the last 20 years? Who has intervened in Somalia, invaded Somalia? Who has wanted to put governments from outside? We have 3 strategic interventions the last 8 or 10 years. where people have tried to impose governments from outside.
And that's not what you're doing in this region.
This is destabilizing Somalia, and by destabilizing Somalia, you destabilize the region.
Maybe you can clear up for us Iran's role in this region.
There is no role for Iran in this region. Eritrea is not for sale.
Let's talk about the drought in the Horn of Africa. Eritrea, like all the other countries, is suffering from this. And yet you are reluctant to let aid workers into your country. What is the justification for that?
When we have enough food, why do we need someone to feed us?
Because 2/3 of your population are starving.
Why do people want to spoon feed us when we have enough food?
But then how come 2/3 of the population are not getting that food?
I mean, then again, how can you possibly imagine and say, I am hungry when I'm not hungry? Why do you want to believe that?
You promised Eritreans political reform. There are no political parties other than your own.
I do not promise.
I do
not promise anyone.
Okay, family, he said it then, and we still seeing it now, in my opinion, mess making in Somalia. Didn't our brother point the fingers to the United States, specifically in that particular clip that you just heard, the United States misguided attempts to disrupt that region? When they turn it around trying to blame the very person that resisted, the person they blaming for destabilization in that region, he had to remind her in no limit of time that within that particular decade, there were 3 different major attempts by foreigners, by outsiders to take over the government in that region and to destabilize. Talk black to me. And did you hear him, the lady say, well, your people are starving and stuff. Why won't you let food in and stuff? He said, ma'am, we have enough food. If the people not saying they're hungry, why are we letting food? You see how the West just make up stuff and want you to go along with what they play stories and stuff, they little plays and scripts. He said, ma'am, we have food over here. We got enough food. When we go around and ask people you're hungry, they say, no, why are we letting y'all in? Because it's no hunger. You see, they create this mess. And then they turn around and blast these countries in the news when they're ready to take action against them, when they're ready to do something crazy, or if something is getting ready to hit the news, the West and the United States try to get out ahead of it because they got secret geopolitical plans for those countries. And when those countries resist and don't comply, they tell us all kind of crazy stuff. Talk black to me, somebody. So that's why I stay on it. And the reason why I bring up the great President Afwerki is because before we heard of the terrorists of the world, yes, baby, that was President Afwerki on the front line for many decades, and salute to his country. Yes, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it. But everything he said then is, I believe, still taking place right now. And didn't he call it? Beloved, my name is Vicki Dillard. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it. So be sure to share the broadcast. Typically, I'm here live Tuesday through Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern. So don't miss my commentary there, as well as my international commentary. Yes, my name is Vicki Dillard. Go to my website.